we're going to talk Manchester United, and a few stories today suggesting that one or two prospective Manchester United managers, should they decide to make a change, are slightly worried by the amount of legends, club legends in the media that have an opportunity to have their say on pile pressure on a manager.
It's Roy Keane, isn't it? It's Gary Neville, it's Paul Scholes, Owen Hargreaves. There's quite a few of them, aren't there?
I mean, I don't think they've broken cover, but one or two have privately suggested to journalists that is the case. We're joining us now, the Guardian's man in Manchester, Jamie Jackson. Hi, Jamie.
Hiya.
It's the Bayern thing, isn't it? It's slightly different because they're legends that are actually often part of the hierarchy of the club. But some of them are like in papers and writing. So it does pile the pressure. When great legends of the club are sitting there saying, this isn't good enough, they're stinking the place out, he's got to go now. It does ramp up the pressure, I guess.
It does, but I would say if you can't handle that, I mean, it's part of being Manchester United manager, as you sort of say in Germany. Bayern, any sort of massive club is by definition been successful. Therefore, you're going to have those players who are part of a successful era being ex-players, often becoming pundits and offering the view. I mean, United, as we all know, it's a bit of a soap opera. We're talking about it now. So if you can't handle that, I'd suggest then, don't even bother applying, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, it doesn't look good for Ten Hag, does it? But the next three big games, the Arsenal, the Newcastle and the final, obviously, may still determine what happens to him.
Yeah, you are right, Andy. I mean, this end of the season is turning into a bit of a nightmare, even in a nightmarish season for Ten Hag. I mean, the Coventry semi-final, I know they got through it, but that kind of initiated this phase we're in where each time they turn up now to a game, they seem to be getting worse. And I'm only laughing because it's just a sort of, I didn't feel like it could get much worse, really, for Ten Hag and United. I mean, I do feel you do make the right point. I don't think it's decided. I was told yesterday 100% this decision will be taken in the summer. That's not to say they're not in the process of deciding as we speak, assessing, looking at who else they might get in. So Arsenal Sunday, the Newcastle and Brighton, then of course the FA Cup final. Imagine if they win all four of those. Big if, probably won't happen. But the reason why I'm saying that is because if he was to do that, and that's kind of the best calling card he can leave, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir Dave Brailsford with, in what has been. I mean, it's 10 years on since he sacked Moyes after 34 league games with the lowest ever Premier League points total of 64. I think I'm right in saying from maths, he can only get 63 this season. I know, he went 4 games before the end of that season, but the point is that's the lowest ever. And I think Ten Hag can't. He's going to set a new low, which is another statistic. I don't necessarily blame him for all of that, but he is the manager. We can have maybe a different debate about all the different reasons, but yeah, it's sort of kind of Groundhog Day yet again at Manchester United with regard to the manager not doing great. Are they going to sack him? Are they not? One of the issues maybe is just. The structure. So maybe with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I mean, he means business. I think we can see that. Whether, it actually has a material effect is the fascinating thing now, isn't it? Because we will really see this summer with regard to the managerial position as we're discussing, but also, the old hoary chestnut of who they bring in and are they good enough? Are they good signings and all the rest of it?
The standout candidate, I don't know if he's the most popular, but in terms of sort of, reputational heft and everything else, is Thomas Tuchel, a Champions League winner. And we've all been sitting here saying, has he got unfinished business in the Premier League? Kind of more or less said it yesterday, didn't he? You read the quotes. I loved it in the Premier League. I loved working in that league. And, he didn't quite say, I'd be desperate to get back. But he seems the obvious choice, doesn't he?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there is actually in Tuchel a very attractive candidate who, we know is going to be unemployed on the market, who's won the Champions League, in charge of a Premier League club, obviously Chelsea, unfinished business. Yeah, maybe we're paraphrasing, but he probably feels he does have that. And, by all accounts, and looking at his track record, be interested to see what happens this evening, of course, in the Champions League semi-final. But, it makes players better. He's a good coach. Now, this whole thing about his temperament, I don't know if it's overblown or not, because I've never really reported on any of his teams properly. Andy might have a better idea about that. But, that might be the one thing that maybe puts off Ratcliffe. But, again, maybe they might look at the other way and say, look, if we believe this guy is the best out there and he's got what it takes, then we will make it work. Yeah, we won't obviously bend over backwards for him, but, if we really want to succeed and we're here to win it, as I'm being told they are, obviously, then maybe it's a case of, right, let's get this gent in. If they think Ten Hag isn't their man, and we'll make it work, because that's what it's all about, making it work.
It's hard to judge Tuchel at Chelsea because, he was brilliant in the first season and they won the Champions League. But he had such a difficult thing to face when Abramovich left and all that happened, and then he ended up being the de facto general manager and director of football with a guy that had a big checkbook but no idea whatsoever. And it wasn't his strength, Tuchel. And in the end, the players they bought at that period weren't great. It didn't work out great.
You're not going to have that problem at United.
He's not going to have that problem at United.
A pretty crowded director's box, I would think.
I think that's what he'd want.
Directors of football, assistant directors.
He doesn't want to be director of football. He just wants to be the coach. Yeah.
So that would lend itself to that, wouldn't it? Certainly, Jamie.
Yeah, 100%. And imagine if he wins another Champions League with Bayern. If they were to then employ him, he then walks into the sort of dressing rooms at the Carrington training ground, Manchester United's training ground, with that he's just done that basically. I mean, you can't really get much better, to be honest. So that's why I think he is very attractive. If I'm Ten Hag, I'm a little bit concerned about that, because if he wasn't on the market, then I think you're then in a situation where there isn't really. I mean, there are other candidates. I think they do like Southgate. Obviously, he'll be with England. There's a school of thought that maybe Ten Hag will stay on. And, if Southgate becomes available post the Euros and, it doesn't work with Ten Hag at the start of next season, then maybe they'll go for him. But is that, Tuchel for me is the standout. If you ask me a slightly different question, who would be the fantasy candidates? But it's obviously Guardiola, Klopp or Carlo Ancelotti, but for different reasons, or maybe the same reason, actually. None of them will go to United. So, you're then into who is in the sort of next best. And it is kind of Tuchel, I think, really.
Good stuff, Jamie. We'll catch up with you soon. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Guardian's man in Manchester, Jamie Jackson, and also answering questions on Manchester United on Drive tomorrow evening with Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent. David Beckham.
All those old players there, if it's going well, then they'll be fine.
Yeah, will David Beckham be blowing his nose? I'm not quite sure. That. Fantastic. That's all right. Well,
what am I supposed to do? I'm a human being. I sneezed.
Producer's having a go at Andy. Doesn't go down well. He'll learn.
Ludicrous.
So, yes, David Beckham will be joining the guys tomorrow.
Should I just let my nose run? Is that what you want me to do? What about the viewers on
Andy
YouTube?
Jacob,
they would be very happy about that, would they?
New podcast, Andy Jacobs, shiny number 11. The 6-time Premier League winner joins the boys live from the red carpet of 99 because he's gone into the ice cream business. Of course not. It's a new documentary on Manchester United's treble-winning season. He's going to look back on that historic treble. He's going to give his thoughts on Erik Ten Hag, and going to talk a bit of England, about who should be on the plane for Germany. So don't miss the fellas tomorrow. Andy Goldstein, Darren Bent, on David Beckham among their guests. You better though for that, are you?
I'm much better for that.
I can see you've cleared the blockage.
I have, yeah.
Marvellous.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.